The crash, the silence, and the return. An accident and a disappearance. By the summer of 1966, Bob Dylan was one of the most famous people in the world, but he was also exhausted, under enormous pressure, and living at a furious pace. Then, in late July, he had a motorcycle accident near his home in Woodstock, in the countryside north of New York. The exact seriousness of the crash has always been debated, but its consequences were clear. Dylan withdrew almost completely from public life. At the height of his fame, he simply vanished. A quiet life. For the next few years, Dylan lived quietly with his young family, away from the noise and demands of stardom. He had married, and he was raising children, and he seemed to value this ordinary domestic peace far more than the adoration of crowds. The wild, restless performer of 1966 became, for a time, a private man devoted to his home. This retreat was itself a kind of statement. Fame, he seemed to say, was not the same as happiness. Music in the basement. Dylan did not stop making music during these years, but he made it in private, for its own sake. In the basement of a house near Woodstock, he and a group of musician friends recorded dozens of informal songs, mixing humor, old folk styles, and mysterious lyrics. These recordings, made with no thought of release, later became famous as the Basement Tapes. They revealed a relaxed, playful Dylan, rediscovering the roots of American music far from the spotlight. Returning with simplicity. When Dylan finally returned with new albums, he surprised everyone once again, this time by becoming quieter and simpler. Instead of the dense, electric poetry of his earlier work, he offered calm, spare songs drawing on country music and old traditions. He even recorded with the country legend Johnny Cash. It was as if, having pushed music to its wildest extremes, he now wished to return to something plain, humble, and honest. The 1970s and a new masterpiece. The 1970s brought both uncertainty and one of the greatest achievements of his career. In 1975 he released Blood on the Tracks, an album of deep emotional power, widely considered one of the finest records ever made. Written during a painful period in his marriage, its songs explore love, loss, memory, and regret with extraordinary honesty. Many listeners regard it as his masterpiece. It proved that Dylan's genius had not faded, it had simply matured. The religious years. At the end of the 1970s, Dylan astonished the world yet again. He experienced a powerful religious conversion and became a devout Christian. For several years, he wrote and performed songs filled with faith, warning, and devotion, and he sometimes preached to his audiences from the stage. Some fans were confused or disappointed, others were moved. Whatever people thought, it was another example of Dylan following an inner path without regard for public expectation. A pattern of rebirth. The years from the motorcycle accident to the end of the religious period reveal a deep truth about Bob Dylan. He was a man of constant rebirth. He would rise, disappear, and return in a new form again and again. Just when the world was sure it had captured him, he would change once more. This restlessness sometimes frustrated his audience, but it was also one of the secrets of his lasting greatness.